Okay. I had those two issues on my list of other business as well, so we've got that done. But we do need to talk about the NACO conference. And my recollection was when we approved the budget and we increased the travel amount for the council office, we agreed that we would increase that only if we came back to the full council to vote to spend more than, Dana, is it $1,000 or $500? $1,000. So each council member that wants to spend more than $1,000 of their travel budget needs to either get another council member to agree to give them theirs or get approval from the council to go above and beyond. So the NACO conference is coming up, and I've heard some council members are interested in going. And so this might be a time when you want to make a motion to the rest of the council to spend more of our travel budget in the council office. Is there anybody? Not at this time?
I don't understand what you're proposing.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know it's a little confusing. All right, we have...
Could I just frame it in a question?
Yes.
Okay. There's an annual conference that the National Association of Counties holds in Washington, D.C. that in the past, the administration has come to the council and said, if some of you guys would like to go along, we think it would be good not only for your education, because some of this conference involves some seminars and some exposure to what other counties are doing, which is educational and helpful, but also in a lobbying effort to go visit our congressional delegation. It's pretty powerful to have in a home rule charter county to have both the executive branch and the legislative branch represented in that effort. So we've gone in the past. I was checking out this week the costs involved. The hotels are more expensive today than they used to be, although there's ways to play that game. The cost of the conference itself is about the same or maybe a little more. It's over $500. And then the airfare seems to be high right now. So what I think the context that you're saying this, Councilmember Kershner, is we probably have an overall budget limitation of something for travel. I'm going to guess that once you add in the per diem expenses and so forth, that any attendee is going to spend probably close to $2,000. They may be able to get it down to around $1,700 or $1,800, but I'm going to guess close to $2,000 to do it. So my question is, and I wasn't there part of that budget discussion, do you have in mind a certain number of people going based on our budget limitations and based on that real cost of $1,800 to $2,000?
Dana, you did a budget projection, and I think I left it on my computer in the back office. Do you recall what the total was that you thought?
I think it was between $2,400 and $2,900.
$2,400 and $2,900
For
per
what?
person. Oh, thank you.
Per person?
Right here.
So it's even more than it used to be, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think you were figuring, well.
Let me read it. It's registration is $515 to $540 depending on when you do it. Hotel is $1,000 to $1,300. Flight is $600 to $800, and meals are $400 to $425 for a total of $2,500 to about $3,000. So all I'm proposing.
Councilmember Kremen and I can tell you ways that we can get that under $2,000.
Okay.
We have a lot of experience doing this.
Right. So
really, what's our total budget?
So what I'm proposing is only that council members that wish to go, that anticipate spending more than their $1,000, have three options. One is to ask another council member if they could have their travel money for the year, which we've done in the past. You get a commitment that other council member then knows they're not going to be able to spend their travel money because they're letting you spend it. You can pay for any extra over $1,000 yourself, or this was Councilmember Weimer's idea. Anything over the $1,000, we have to come back to the council and we vote as a whole to approve the requested amount. And our council budget is.
You put an additional $6,000 into the full office budget for travel, and so you would need to dip into that, anything over the $1,000.
Right. So there's an additional $6,000 that we can dip into, but we have to have a vote of the council and approve that. So I just wanted to make sure council members that were interested in going knew that process and knew that this would be a good time to take a vote if we wanted to do that, so you can make plans if you haven't already secured your funding. Does that make sense?
I guess in my response to my question, it sounds like there's enough budget room for 2 council members to go. And anything beyond that, if it costs a penny for either one of them over 2,000, it's going to need some. If there's a third person, it's going to be over 6,000, and the nuclear option or whatever.
We each have 1,000, so we have 7,000 here, and then there's an additional 6,000.
Oh, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can
$13,000
right.
travel money.
Yes. See what happens when you don't come to our meetings?
I know.
It's for the whole office.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Councilmember Kremen?
I think Councilmember Crawford is on the right track. I think rather than have a fairly complicated and complex formula or process of trying to satiate all those that would like to attend the conference, because in the past we've had as many as 5 of the 7 members go to Washington, D.C. for this annual conference. I think it's in the best interest of the county council to select 2 members to represent the council, the legislative branch of our government, to accompany the county executive, and if anyone else wants to come, they should be able to use whatever resources are allocated for them. But I think there should just be 2 designees.
We don't have to place that limit right now. We can. Everybody can go. You can pay for it yourself. You can get somebody else to give you theirs, or you can come forward to the council for a vote. So we're not. The issue isn't we need to limit it right now. The issue is there any council member that wishes to ask for a vote of the council to go above your 1,000? You have a $1,000 travel budget.
What you're saying is, does anyone want to go to D.C.?
Well, if you want to go, this is an opportunity. If you don't want to take the opportunity, then you can figure out a different way. But this was a suggestion from Councilmember Weimer. We all voted on it during the budget process, that this would be the mechanism for how we would decide how to use the additional $6,000 that we were putting in the pot. And so this is the method. So I know that there's been some people that have expressed interest. Are there any people on the council, any council members that are still highly interested and are going? Because then we could work through this. You want to go, Councilmember Kremen?
Yes.
Councilmember Crawford, are you still a possibility?
I was a possibility if we weren't going to have very many people going. I sense there's more interest. I think I'm hearing that. So pull the rest of you. I think we could avoid a quorum this year, and I wouldn't go if it meant a quorum, just because of the problematic issues around that, although they can be overcome.
Councilmember.
So I would say 3 people is probably where we should limit it, and if there's already 3 others, I would forego going.
And before everybody decides, let's get everybody's input. Councilmember Brenner, were you thinking of going?
Brenner,
yes. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I don't know. It just does that to people sometimes. I think we've got a great council. I think the trip to Washington is a waste of time, and my voting against anybody getting more money for it is not personal.
Okay, so you're not thinking of going.
No.
I was thinking of going, but I have a work conflict that I haven't resolved yet, so that's where I am. Councilmember Knutzen?
I was thinking of going until I saw the cost, and I don't know if it's the best expenditure of county resources.
Okay, and Councilmember Weimer?
No.
You go all the time.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Are
I
we
don't,
sitting on last year's travel budget?
this is
Well,
the
we don't,
extra
we
amount,
don't get to
some of
keep, we
it.
have to return that each year.
How about
Okay,
these chairs?
Oh,
yes, this is the extra amount that
Who's
wasn't
paying for
spent.
mine? I didn't want it.
It came out of your check, you didn't see that?
Better not have.
And I don't know if Councilmember Mann wanted to go. Does anybody have any
I don't
inclination?
think, I don't think he did, but I'm not going to, I hate speaking for him, but I think his obligations at the home front might prevent
Okay.
him from wanting to go.
So right now, we have Councilmember Kremen that for sure wants to go and can go. So Councilmember Kremen, let's walk you through this then. Do you have the funds? Have you asked other council members if you can have their funds, or do you want to take a vote to dip into the $6,000 reserve? I'll call it reserve. It's extra.
Yes, I would.
Unallocated.
Yes, I would. And I also would encourage another member. I think one member from the legislative branch that has ties, fairly strong ties to the one of the parties of power, and another member who has strong ties with the other party of power in the two bodies that make up Congress should attend to show a unified front and to take advantage of the relationships that they have and the support that they've given. And so I think it would be prudent for two members of this body to be represented and to concur with what Councilmember Brenner said earlier this evening, that it's really important for the council members to reach out to our legislators, which includes members of Congress, that is the most important part and rationale for going back to Washington, D.C., especially in view of the fact that we have a brand new member of Congress that we need to cultivate and apprise of our specific issues in Whatcom County and get some face time and develop a relationship. So that's
Okay, so
my
I'm going to
thinking.
move that the council approve $1,000 in addition to Councilmember Kremen's travel budget to attend the NACO conference. Well, that's what I'm moving. Pains to come up with. It's $2,500 to
ask for whatever the costs are. I mean, you know,
up to
I'm willing to go back there, but you know.
Okay, so I'll move $1,500 in addition to your $1,000. Well, don't we need to give him a budget? Do we need to give him a budget? No? Right. Yeah, we made this up to us, so we have to decide. So is there a friendly amendment to that motion? Councilmember Weimer, do you have a?
Well, I think you're on the same track I was. Just to move things along, I was going to authorize $3,000 for two people, so we're on the
That's not,
exact same
it's
place.
not enough.
In addition to their $1,000 each.
Which would be a budget of about $2,500 apiece.
That would be enough.
No.
And then if you
We figure out ways to save from
Right.
there. Yeah.
if you can't make it with that, then you can approach the council again for more, or ask a council member for their allotment. Okay, Councilmember Brenner.
Well, I just want to correct Councilmember Kremen's comment, because for me, reaching out, I pick up the phone and I reach out. Conference calls, emails, I reach out. You don't have to.
Try
the body doesn't have to.
getting Patty Murray on the phone.
Okay.
Actually, I haven't wanted to try lately,
I
but
really want to try to
I
keep
did get her
this
on the
to a
phone.
budget discussion and not
All right, well,
a merits of going. I think that we discussed that, and now we're talking about making sure you have enough money to go.
Then stop saying, putting words in my mouth.
You can't have it both ways,
I can
Councilmember
have
Brenner.
it
You
both
can't
ways,
say
but
that
I
we
use
need
the
to.
phone, and I use email.
Okay, so we have I'll accept your friendly amendment, Councilmember Weimer. We have a motion to approve up to an additional $3,000 for 2 members of the council to go to the NACO conference. Is there any other discussion on this? Is there anybody else that wanted to go?
Well, I think Councilmember Kremen's suggestion that which side are you representing there, Pete?
Yeah,
I appreciate the attempt at lightening this thing up a little bit, but I really do. Let's face it. We know who. I happen to have close ties with our previous or prior congressional delegation. They all happen to be Democrats.
Oh, what a coincidence!
And so is our new member from the 1st District, happens to be a Democrat who was the only Democrat she happened to be the one that I have had conversations with, personal and on the phone, and I'd like to cultivate that. But I also think that it's very important to have. My preference would be to have Council Chair Kershner attend, because I think it's very important to have a bipartisan approach as we embark on trying to convince our Congress, which is controlled in the House by the Republicans and in the Senate by the Democrats, and I think it just shows a unified front, which I think is advantageous and preferable. And so I would like to encourage Councilmember Kershner, and if she's not willing to go, then either Councilmember Crawford or Councilmember Knutzen, because all 3 of you have close ties with the Republican Party, which I think is important to have in Washington, D.C. when we go back there.
Why don't we assume that the second person has yet to be decided and go ahead and vote on the motion?
Well,
Okay, we can do that. And I want to say my personal feeling is that council members can make the decision to go on their own and find the additional money from either other council members, or we can come back and take another vote. I just don't want to make this the end-all be-all if there is somebody that hasn't been able to express their desire to go and they decide they do want to go. Does that make sense? And we can say no, but I just would like to put that out there. Councilmember Mann isn't here, and he may decide he wants to go, and he might get Barbara and Bill to give him their money. Then he'd have $3,000 to go.
And that's all well and good, but I do think that we should have 2 members designated to go.
Okay.
And I was under the impression, and maybe I was wrong, but I was under the impression that the chair did have a desire to.
Yeah, I do have a desire to go, but I had a work conflict that I haven't worked out yet. So I like Councilmember Crawford's idea that we'll have the second person undesignated at this point. How's that?
Fine.
All right.
So what we have before us is the motion by Councilmember Weimer for the $3,000 in addition to the $1,000 per individual and was that for 2?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. I support Councilmember Weimer's motion.
Okay, I think it was, just for the record, it was my motion. I accepted a friendly amendment, but that's
okay.
fine. We understand what you're saying. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay, that motion carries 5-1 with Councilmember Brenner opposed. Thank you for indulging. That was much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Okay, one more item of business. Since we did approve the contract to hire the lobbyist, the executive has asked that we appoint a council member to sit in on the calls at 8 a.m. on Friday mornings.
I nominate Councilmember Kershner.
Is there any interest? I'm happy to do that. 8 o'clock in the morning. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. No opposition. That passes. I'll sit
To
in
you
on the
being
phone
in
call.
person?
I'm in person. Does
Okay.
anybody want to be an alternate? No? Okay.
I'll be an alternate.
All right. Councilmember Kremen will be an alternate.
I believe the conference, anyone, if you get the password,
They could
anyone can
both.
dial in, and if
Yeah.
both of you want to sit in on it, you can.
Oh, okay. Well, he made it sound like there were only four opportunities, and we got 2 of them. So maybe there is a password.
I
we
don't
can
know.
all-
When I do get conference calls, they just give me a number to dial and a
Yeah,
password to punch in.
that's what I
and
thought
you're in.
too. Okay.
It's sort of the more the merrier.
Well, I agree. The more of you that want to listen in, the merrier. Any other business from council members? Start with Crawford.
No.
Kremen? Other business?
No.
I don't have any. Councilmember Knutzen, Weimer, no. All right. Moving on to reports and other items from council members. Start with Councilmember Weimer.
I'm going to miss the next council meeting. I've been asked to be part of a Senate field hearing in West Virginia that day.
All right. Councilmember Knutzen.
Well, as we were on the subject a minute ago, newly elected Congressman Del Benny was up to inspect to go on a tour of some of the local farms, and the day prior to that, we had the local farmers had a meeting with Dairy Federation and some of the other organizations, and it was concerning some of the things that are happening out there. And I sense a lot of frustration, and tonight we heard it with someone, I forget who it was, talking about over-regulations and all these issues. It just seems like it's been brought, it's getting frustrating. The EPA all the local dairy farms have had to form and all the statewide dairies have had to form a legal defense fund just to keep other dairies in business, because I don't know if anyone's following what's going on in Yakima, but you have 4 farmers that are being threatened to be put out of business by the EPA. So all the local farmers and farmers across the state have tried to join together in their efforts to defend these people. And locally here, I worked with a couple farmers that were trying to just take some trees off their levee so that their levee would be adhere to the Corps' PL 8499 program. And that was 6 to 8 months ago. We gathered all the parties together in one room at PDS. We had public works staff, we had PDS, and we had the Conservation District, and trying to get all these organizations just to get a permit to cut about 6 hazard trees off of a levee. After the meeting, we were told by PDS that would be all right if with the mitigation plan that the Conservation District had worked out. Now I find out that the farmer has to hire a biologist to do this because the Conservation District wasn't a biologist. So it's very frustrating, and I hear it from the ag community dealing with all these issues on a constant basis. And now the EPA has allocated money to hire 3 more inspectors for the dairy nutrient program in Whatcom County, even though last year we had or 2 years ago, had sent a letter of support of the conservation districts in their efforts to manage the dairy nutrient program. EPA has continually came into the market and inspected these farmers for the past 4 or 5 years, and to my knowledge has found no problems, but yet they still continue to allocate funds to go after these guys. So it's frustrating, and I hear it from the ag community, and I wish we could do something about it. So I would encourage whoever goes back to D.C. To take some time to make the EPA aware of what's going on.
Thank you, Bill. I don't have any reports or anything. Councilmember Brenner? Councilmember Kremen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And when I do go back to Washington, D.C., unless my status has been changed with the National Association of Counties, I will more than likely get an opportunity to visit the White House, and I think that would be the most appropriate time to voice. Talking to the EPA, I don't think would be nearly as productive as talking to the administration, which the EPA is accountable to. And I will make every effort to voice the concerns you just expressed, Councilmember Knutzen, because I think they're valid, warranted, and important, very important to the survival of, well, not just in Whatcom County, but agriculture in general throughout the country. On another note, I found out today, this morning from our sheriff, that Chief Ramstead had passed away, and I'm deeply saddened. I had the honor of working with him for his entire tenure as the police chief for both Everson and Nooksack, and I can honestly say without any hyperbole or exaggeration that he was one of the finest men you'd ever want to know. He was a local boy who made good, and his shoes will be very, very difficult to fill. He was committed and dedicated to our community and served it so well for so long. And, I've lost a friend, and Whatcom County has lost a stellar law enforcement official, and I know that I'll be attending whatever services are forthcoming, and I encourage anyone who's able and schedule permits them to also pay tribute and respect to a very, very special individual.
Thank you, Councilmember Kremen. Councilmember Crawford? Okay. All right. We are adjourned 10:21.
Perry, you're not going to tell me there's something wrong now, are you? Oh, good.